Democracy That Delivers is brought to you by the Center for International Private Enterprise. And now to your host, Ken Jakes.
Hi, everybody. This is Ken Jakes. I'm the host of Democracy That Delivers, our weekly podcast here at CIPE. And I'm joined in studio by a couple of friends of mine and friends of CIPE, partner of CIPE in Turkey. One of them is Baybars Orsek. He is the chairman of OnWatch, which is a organization in Turkey that we're going to get into exactly what they do. It's a very important organization in Turkey. And also the general counsel of the organization, Badawan Ersan. How are you guys doing?
We are fine. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here. As I mentioned, I visited you guys about a year ago. It was, I think, in December of last year.
Probably, this time of the year, last year,
Yeah, and you have a great organization over there, and you're doing a lot of important work. It's called OnWatch.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. For our listeners, Baybars, why don't you get into a little bit of what that is?
Sure. OnWatch is a media nonprofit organization that we started in 2014. It's been almost 5 years that we are carrying out mostly data-driven and media-oriented projects in Turkey. And some of those projects have been recognized not only in the national level, but also in the international level. So we are happy to introduce some of the concepts that works a great, makes a great impact in the Western democracy. So we try to implement those success stories back in Turkey.
Yeah, and the thing that I find most fascinating about this is, and we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but you guys gather data.
Mm-hmm.
And what's more important is once you get that data, you analyze it and make it understandable for the general public so they can make decisions on, or at least have an understanding on what not only the government is doing, but also other organizations within the country on economics, on social programs. I mean, just a whole range of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Babak, who's sitting here, and he's the director of the program here in Washington for CIPE. But how important your organization is to making sure that's happening. In fact, you were just nominated for an award over in Turkey, and it's equivalent. I guess the best way to do it is call it as the Turkish internet. Oscars, yeah, exactly. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. When we're talking about like starting this organization, our main theory of change was to introduce a more data-driven discourse in the public sphere, because we believe that the polarization in the country was mostly fueled by the value-based discussion that was dominating the politics. So our whole of our projects have this common concept to encourage a more data-driven discussion in the public sphere, and this led us to start fact-checking in Turkey, data mining in Turkey, and all sorts of data-driven projects that we do so far. And we are glad to see that this also attracts reaction from our audience and from the stakeholders in the civil society and media. And the Internet Awards that we were talking about is going to be publicized next month, and we hope to have a good sort of like appreciation from the stakeholders in our environment. And it's very encouraging to see that, especially our audience, which we have this target group of people between mid-20s to late 30s, are most likely to use our content when it comes to raise their concerns. I mean, we are trying to put out some information, more data-driven information, so that people can build up their opinions, not based on values, but based on the facts that can be more influential in the public policy making processes.
And big data is a big topic for us here at CIPE, because we see this problem all over the world, where the government or other public entities, they'll just dump a lot of raw data on the public, and no one can make heads or tails of it. Whereas in the States and also in Western Europe and in established democracies, the government usually provides some type of analysis or some type of rationale for why they're putting out the data. You don't find that in most parts of the world. What you guys have done a terrific job is where you take that data and then you can summarize it and make it easily understood by the general public.
Absolutely. I mean, the main idea was to make data more available for ordinary people, because at the end of the day, the data that you can find online is basically out there, but it's very hard to understand. It's very hard to put into a context.
Put in
So
context, yeah.
our job is mainly to get this data from publicly available sources, and in Turkey we are dealing with like almost 200 different sources of data that publishes information on Turkey, and you add like OECD, the World Bank, like the all international organizations on top of that. But still, it makes it's not everybody's job to log into some complicated data sets and download them and make an interpretation out of them. So that's where we try to step up in this data finding and interpretation process of data.
I mean,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah. We should say that there is data in Turkey, I mean, publicly available, for sure. But the main problem is, I mean, they really present that data, I mean, not so user-friendly way. So that's the main problem.
Right.
And for example, we have an official website which present the whole government data in Turkey. Everybody can access that website easily, but the website is so terrible.
And what does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can't even find the very basic data, such as, I don't know, inflation or unemployment.
Unemployment,
rate. Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's so hard to find what you want. So we basically did a website can show the people that we have this data, and this is the way that you can understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's very popular, what you guys are doing. And I was amazed by this when I went over there, but tell our listeners what type of following you have.
Sure. I mean, like, just to help our audience to get a better understanding of how the website is, it's basically a search engine. It's basically like a Google kind of search engine that you just type.
Like an aggregator, almost.
Like an aggregator.
Yeah.
Like, you just type down whatever you want to find, and, for example, let it be like youth, or like let it be like woman. And when you type those keywords and then you press enter, the whole database search for the data that has this keyword, and you've come up with
like unemployment
of
Sure.
women.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the data will come up.
The data will come up, but in a more understandable way. It's
Right.
more like a visualization of data that you can
Right.
get.
And you do graphics and
Everything.
videos
Like
and
we
everything. Yeah.
currently do 24 different types of data visualization in our website, and it can be like a basic pie chart, or like a how you call it, like a plots type of like a map visualization, so you can understand the context data in a more understandable way, and that's the whole point of the website. And it gets really important interest from our audience, not only like the researchers, like not only like the business people, but also like the ordinary people who want to have more information about what's happening in the country. And the whole idea actually came up when we come up with this website in the United States. It's called the usafacts.org, and it's founded by the former CEO of Microsoft, Steve Ballmer. And after like a couple of years of R&D, he came up with this website, and his explanation was, and it really got me when I heard it at first, like I wanted to have a website that I can find fruitful information that I can use in dinner conversations, like in dinner parties. So that was a very basic way to come up with an idea which actually can sound like complicated, much more technical, but it's like a basic need.
Exactly.
If you want to talk about some sort of issues, you have to have some sort of background information.
Right. And we talked about this when I was over there a year ago, but the whole key in communications, and that's exactly what you guys do. You communicate this to the general public over there. But it's taking very complicated issues and making it as simple as you possibly can, that's very understandable and digestible. But I also want our listeners to know, you're listening to this, you're not watching this, but we're talking about young people that are putting this together. You have a very young organization, and that's what's so impressive. And Baybars, you told me the story about how this whole idea came up with you and a bunch of friends in university. You came up with it. Tell that story a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I was born in 1986, so actually I am the oldest folk in the whole team. And Batuhan
Babak, we feel kind of old going.
and Batuhan will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our average age in our team is like 27.
Yeah.
And it's. I mean, I studied international relations back in college, and I did my master's on conflict resolution, and I did spent 2 years as a profession in my alma mater, and then I came up with this like motivation to start my own thing. And when I considered all the options and everything, I always been interested in media, in politics, and like social issues, and doing my like projects and doing with the people that I enjoy doing with those things was my escape point from professional career. And that's when we started this organization in 2014. It was just a couple of months after the publicly popular Gezi Park protest that
Right.
took place in the summer of 2013. So this youth oriented and young team actually has been making a difference in Turkish civil society. Right now, I'm very happy to say, and I'm trying to be humble, but I have to say that our On Watch has been pointed out as one of the most sustainable and like user-friendly is probably not the best way to phrase it, but like the most welcoming and warm organizations in Turkey, because the formation of its team, the formation of these projects, and the way that we try to communicate it is very important, because we are not trying to create any fuss in the public discourse, but we are trying to contribute to a more factual-driven political discussion that will eventually help every part of the society. So I think this friendly communication, this constructive strategy allowed us to appear as one of the highly respected and sustainable organizations in the country.
Well, one thing that we talked about when I was over there almost a year ago is not only this information in what you're doing important for the general public and for companies, but also for the government itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a lot about that. Since I was over there a year ago, what kind of response have you gotten from the government on a lot of the stuff that you're doing in terms of how they approach public policy?
A part of our project is the advocacy of open data in the country. And last year was mostly about how we communicate our work. But this year we started to put much more emphasis on how we can increase the impact of our advocacy aspect of our project. So when we started this,
I'm glad you're doing that, because we talked a lot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those talks, and we were always like, this year is mostly about spreading the word around, but next year is going to be much more impact driven. So when we started this project, as we have the chance, the project is called Veri Kaynağı in Turkey, which can be translated into English as like data source. It's very straightforward. The aim of the project is to reach 3 different target groups. The first target group is the business sector, like the private sector. And the second target group is the researchers, the academia, and the interested NGOs, which conduct surveys and research on the areas that we care about. And the last but not least target group is the government, because the advocacy part of this project can only be conducted with partnerships, held by the government and the public offices. And as far as we are concerned, now we think that we reached to a capacity where we can push the public offices to be more open to the concept of open data. And we have been testing the water by reaching out to several agencies that publishes data on Turkey, and try to at least, offer them some sort of free in-house consultation that how they can transform their websites into more open source friendly settings. So hopefully within the 2019 we're going to be hearing much more good news from the public agencies that at least open their doors so we can try to encourage and push them to increase the concept, the quality of their open data approach in their sources.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. So it looks like that they're very, very open to copying, essentially, on what you're doing and the concepts.
And
Go
also
ahead, I'm sorry.
the political actors in Turkey, they know us because the Open Data project is not our first or the only political and fact-based project. So most of them, they know that we are dealing with data. They know that we are checking them, and they know how we can affect the people because
Right.
they saw it before.
Yeah.
So they kind of, interested in what we do.
So tell the audience how many followers you have on Watch. I mean, this is amazing when you'll hear this.
So OnWatch is like the umbrella organization that we carry out all our projects. And as Batuhan was briefly mentioning, we started carrying out this project with our fact-checking website in 2014. And it's also it's almost like 5 years old project that we run on a daily basis, that we publish like the fact checks of the political actors in the country. And when you combine these two projects along with like few others, I would say, we are capable of reaching out to 3 million unique visitors
It's
per year.
amazing.
Per year. And on social media, when you combine all numbers, I think it's like almost 500,000.
It's absolutely amazing. Those numbers have gone up since I've been there as well.
Yeah.
And what platforms on social media?
I mean, almost all of them.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter,
especially Facebook, Twitter.
Instagram. Do you have Instagram?
Yeah, we also have Instagram and YouTube.
YouTube's huge, and I
Yeah.
want to talk about that just in a little bit.
We also publish on WhatsApp, so we use
I
all
know.
platforms.
We talk, yeah, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, we use every platform that the user is there.
Yeah, and it's not only just giving information, but you get a lot of stuff back,
Feedbacks,
feedback.
like, yeah,
Exactly. Talk about
inquiries.
that just a little bit.
Sure. I mean, probably. I mean, I have to double check that, but probably like up to 20% of the content that we produce is coming from users' requests.
Right.
Like they are, hey guys, you are doing a terrific job. Can you just, take a look into this? So, and we are taking those requests very seriously because it kind of shows the impact that we can create towards our audience, and we like to be engaging. So yeah, probably like up to 20% of the content that we produce is coming from the user requests.
Yeah, and one thing we talked about over there as well when I was there, but the impact of video and how important that is. And you guys have a top-notch video editor. We were just talking about that, and I keep threatening to steal him and bring him here to Washington.
We are open for any offers.
That's right. But and I was quite amazed when I went over there. I thought that it's going to be like a lot of projects that I've worked on. Before I came to CIPE, I had a public relations firm and dealt with a lot of partners similar to you, but I was shocked just how sophisticated your operation was. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. It rivals anything that we have here in the United States. I mean, you guys do a fantastic job. But video is so important. That drives everything right now, and especially with a younger audience. But the recent statistics that I've seen, and of course everyone uses their smartphones, almost everyone. Most of the people that get the data is coming from
Mobile users.
Mobile users, exactly. So with the patience of people have really gotten shorter and shorter. Back when I was a reporter for CNN, this goes back many, many years, our average package was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Nobody will watch anything 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And we did a little exercise, remember?
Yeah.
Baybars, when we were there, and how we can really reduce the
Absolutely,
messaging. But on average, a person will look at a video for 7 seconds before they decide if it's good or if it's bad, and they're going to get out. So you have to capture their imagination in 7 seconds, and you guys are doing a fantastic job in doing that. But talk a little bit about how a lot of what you're doing is video and graphics driven.
I mean, you spoke about like people are losing their attention, even like if you summarize like your analysis in a very simple format, still they are very reluctant to read the whole of it.
Exactly.
So this, came up when we analyzed our, user statistics in our website and everything, and we found out that people do not read. Like
Words.
Especially our followers. I mean,
Yeah.
our generation.
Well,
our
it's
generation
the same with us,
especially.
same over here.
So
Yeah.
we were like, I mean, we are creating an information that really matters. So I mean, we have to convey our message. So the best way seemed to be creating videos back like 2 years ago. That was I
Yeah.
was talking about. So we, came up with this great video editor that still produces our videos.
He's fantastic.
He is not bad.
Not
He
bad.
is good. And now we are creating at least 4 different formats for only YouTube that like one is just under 60 seconds and the other format is
Right.
like somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes. And now we are creating a new just YouTube tailor made news format that is gonna be out there in mid-November, that we will be following the news and creating the news based on the data that we gather. And based on the data that we collect, we're gonna put some serious questions in the country into a context and be more engaging and hopefully have like at least 500,000 views in our every YouTube video. So, there's this saying in most of the Silicon Valley companies that pivoting to video is like one of the top priorities that they
Right.
have. And this is really important if you are producing content. The video is the best way to,
It is.
transmit the message. Because people, at least at the end of the day, they watch it. Like, even
watch
though
it.
they don't read a lot,
Yeah.
they watch it.
And the other thing too, they can go back and watch it again, and you'll probably see that a lot of people go back and just rewatch and rewatch,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
it's great. The retention from
Yeah.
watching video, I think now is much. You're
It
absolutely
stays
right.
out there, yeah.
Stays out
Yeah.
there.
And also, it's very easy to share.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you can easily show a small video, a small clip to your, I don't know, father and mother, and
exactly.
but you can't make them read the whole article.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, here's a little anecdote that I think, and especially Babak, you'll find this very interesting. But when we send stuff to our own board, and our board is mostly older men and women, but if we send them something in written form, we rarely get any comment back from them. But if we send them a video, almost 100% of the time, they'll write back and say, "Oh, great video! I learned a lot from it." So it's across generations.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's 2 aspects that I think is very important. One is like the time limitation that many people have.
Yep.
And the second, especially in the case of Turkey and many other countries where the trust towards media is getting lower and lower day by day, people are getting away from their traditional media outlets. So this is what we experience in Turkey. People do not watch the news on TV anymore.
Right.
Especially if you are talking about like an audience below 40. I mean, they don't watch it.
Yeah,
they
they
don't
get
watch
from their
TV.
phones.
They get their information from their phones. They get their information from the tweets. They don't read newspapers. They don't trust the newspapers, but they trust like certain people that works on certain newspapers, so that they follow them on Twitter and other social media accounts. And YouTube is becoming especially YouTube, but other platforms are becoming like the main source of information for the people in their 20s, in their 30s. So as an organization that aims to create an impact on the Turkish media and politics in a positive way, we have to be anywhere that the people is, hanging out. So creating those videos is fun, but on the other hand, it has a crucial importance.
It's important.
It's important. It's
Yeah,
important.
exactly. So if you were to identify 2 or 3 issues that you're seeing, and from the feedback that you're getting from the people who are gathering this information or asking about information, what are the 2 or 3 biggest issues facing Turkey right now?
I think economy, covers like the bulk of the crucial issues that we are having in Turkey right now.
We're talking about job creation, essentially.
Job creation, inflation, like the weak position of Turkish lira against, US dollar, because it affects everyone.
Right.
I mean, even you are just buying your grocery, shopping, you are affected by the economy. If you are traveling outside, it affects your daily, well-being, I would say. So economy is crucial, and it's becoming much more harder to find informed content about the process that Turkey has been experiencing in terms of economy. So we get a lot of feedbacks and requests for the issues that are pertain to economy in the country. And second, I would say education. People still, these issues are like connecting issues that
They are.
that relate to anyone.
Right.
So we are creating like tons of information about the educational stats in the country, like especially when it comes to disadvantaged groups in different parts of the society. So I think economy and education is like the primary focus that we have in most of our work. And after that, probably we can talk about like justice and social cohesion, health, and many others, but they all somehow have this relationship with economy and education.
What about corruption? Does that come up very much?
Yes, and corruption has been one of the vital issues that Turkey has been experiencing, and according to many indexes internationally, Turkey is going backwards in the perception of corruption, because corruption is very hard to measure, but
Right.
you can measure the perception of corruption. So according to Transparency International, Turkey is below the
Average.
50th
not
percentile,
average,
yeah.
but below the 90% average in the
Yeah.
countries in the world when it comes to perception.
But it's not a hot topic right now.
So
Right,
it's
no.
mostly job creation,
Yeah.
because I know inflation's a big issue right now.
Inflation is like around the highest in
It is. It's been-
the latest 15 years or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
And Turkey has, suffered from hyperinflation in the 90s.
Yes.
So it has a, terrible memory
Yeah,
in
there's
the
a lot of fear.
Yeah, it's a fear that people have
Yeah.
in their minds. So it's a big issue right now.
We have a segment on the show called 5 Years From Now. So if you were to come back 5 years from now, what would you guys be talking about?
Your turn.
I mean, we started this whole NGO and most of our projects like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I look back, like in late 2013, I think we could have done much more, definitely. But just to be fair, I think we managed to at least put our organization on the map, put our, projects on the spotlight, and many similar organizations and projects popped up due to the inspiration that we hope that we delivered to our peers in the society. And in 5 years, and that would be a wishful thinking, but I would like to envision our organization as a reference point that people look up to when it comes to discuss how media and politics can be better in the country. And this impact and the hope that hopefully we can deliver in the next 5 years will be probably our biggest success if we can inspire people so they can start similar work, similar initiatives. I mean, it's basically a civil duty to step up and work on the issues that you think there's something can be done, and there's a potential to work on those areas. Hopefully, the next 5 years will be much more inspiring others. So you're gonna be able to have much more brighter young people from Turkey and talk about much better projects that we did in the past, and hopefully we will be happily hearing them in the next hundreds, or probably in 5 years it's like 2070th episode of Democracy That Dollars by Ken Jackson.
Exactly. But I mean, what do you see in 5 years?
I mean, I totally agree with him, because, I mean, if we keep up with what we do right now, I will definitely say that we will be like one of the most popular and, more important, most trusted organizations in
keyword.
Turkey. Yeah, the trust is like the keyword,
Yeah.
because people can easily lose their trust on the people, on the organizations, on the political actors, especially in Turkey. So we saw that, and we know what we should do. So I'm sure that we will be doing much more better in the upcoming years.
Well, I certainly think I'm looking over at Babak right now, but this is certainly a model that I think could hopefully be replicated in other countries, because it's been an outstanding success, and it's been a pleasure to work with you guys, and hopefully, we can continue that relationship. But we're about out of time. Where can our listeners find out more about OnWatch?
So we have a website that our users can find more information, but it's in Turkish.
It's in Turkish, yeah.
But it's in English, but the domain is in Turkish.
Right.
It's izlemedeyiz.org.
And can you spell that out real quick?
Sure.
And we'll put it on our website too.
Yeah.
We do a blog that
That's
goes
great.
up
So
with
they
it.
can find out
They
more.
can find out
They
from
can
there,
find
yeah.
the links from there.
Yes.
And all of our projects are actually in Turkish, but we have case studies that we publish on English. So any interested organization can, they even can reach out to us through Babak and Erin. So we
can you put in OnWatch on Google. Can you get that?
Yeah. OnWatch Turkey. If they Google like OnWatch and Turkey, I think they can find it.
They can get it,
Yeah.
But it's fascinating what you guys are doing, and it's a real pleasure. So, how long are you guys in town?
3 days.
3 days, and
Yeah.
head back.
Yeah, head back.
Short trip.
Yeah, it's a short trip. we are here for like a week, but we're gonna spend the weekend in New York. So
That'll be a lot of fun. You'll enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
And we'll
Thank
talk
you.
to you soon. We'll see everybody next week.
Sure.
You've been listening to Democracy That Delivers. For more information about the Center for International Private Enterprise, please go to our website at cipe.org. That's CIPE.org. Thanks for listening.